All right. So Jake, you started building the app first, right? So why did you,
Yeah.
what inspired you to make the app?
Yeah, so it was around my senior year of high school where I was kind of inspired to make the app. I was actually walking with my family on like a hike, and it started with me just seeing like a cute girl and being like, "Hey, I kind of want to ask for a number," but I knew like my whole family would kind of make fun of me for going up and asking for it. So I was like, I mean, there's got to be a better way to meet people and talk to people that you want to get to know, friends, girls, different people, and network with them easier. And so that's kind of where the idea came, where you could connect with people who are in a 50-yard radius with you or nearby.
Okay. And so in case people haven't used it or seen it, so proximity, wherever you are, you open it up and then you're seeing dots for the people around you who also use the app, right?
Exactly, yeah. So it's kind of like the structure of Family Search, where you see just a bunch of names and profiles pop up on your screen. And then if you click on their profile, you can see a quick bio. And if they choose to attach their social medias as well, you can see social media of theirs as well. And then you can add them as a friend. And if they accept, you can message each other on the app.
Okay. And are people kind of using it the way you envisioned? Are they using it to meet new people, or is this more like for people meeting up with friends they already have? What actually happens?
Yeah, so the awesome thing is it's been doing both. So once you're friends, you can see that they're yellow instead of that purple color. So our colors are purple and yellow. Friends are yellow, people who aren't are purple. And so what we've seen is that, in the beginning it was kind of slower because we didn't have a ton of users. But now as we've gained traction, gained users in the Provo area, I've had several instances where different roommates of mine, they've went to the library and been like, "Hey, I just saw someone on proximity and we started studying together. We became friends." For others, when I was at a football game, one of my friends was like, "Hey, I saw you just arrived at the game. Like, where are you sitting?" And that was super awesome to see just how the app has been working, even with not as great of a user base yet established. So that's been really cool.
Yeah, for user base, you're doing pretty well though. You have hundreds of users here at BYU, right?
Correct. Yep.
Main campus. And then the way I learned about it is that BYU Idaho article where you're expanding to BYU Idaho's campus, right?
Correct. Yep.
And I should mention at some point, so Connor, at some point you got involved. How did that happen?
So I live next door to Jake, and we'd been studying together a little bit. I saw him working on the app. I didn't think too much of it. And then when he released the beta version for testing, I popped on it. I thought it was cool. And I sent him some feedback. And a few weeks later, he messaged me, said, "Hey, I'd like to meet, see if you want to be part of this." I have strong experience in programming, and he wanted me to handle some of the back end stuff while he handled the marketing and business side. So we've been able to divide up tasks that way. That's what I was brought on for.
Okay, but initial programming you did yourself, Jake, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so you're both kind of programmers, and then that
Yes.
split up roles. It's more of an organization.
Yeah.
Is it monetized? How do you handle that?
Yeah, so right now it's a free app, so it kind of uses that freemium model, where we make money off of subscriptions. If people get that, that just allows you to be verified, to go to the top of everyone's proximity. And we're trying to gain a user base in order to get ads on the app eventually, and then make money that way.
Okay, super smart. So it's just like it'd be like on YouTube or all kinds of other services where you pay a premium so that you show up earlier in the results.
Exactly.
So pretty great. Before you build it at all, Jake, did you do anything to validate it? Did you ask around or find out if people wanted, or what made you confident enough to create the thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we obviously interviewed a ton of people on BYU campus, kind of just went around the library asking them if it was a good idea. And that was an awesome experience because while validating, I realized that some of my initial ideas were not that great for it. I wanted a map where you could see everyone in the map area, but then all the users would have been stacked. So I was a little confused on that. But one of the people I was interviewing, they're like, what if you made it like Family Search where you could see a stack of people instead of just a map? I'm like, that's a great idea. And so the validation effort really helped there. And then also, one of the biggest concerns that people have had with apps like this previously is the privacy, especially women, where you can see people in there. That's scary. But what we did is we made it so you can't know anyone's exact location. And then you also, it's a 50-yard radius. So if you think of a football field, draw a circle around it. It's a huge radius. And so we wanted to make sure that privacy was our main concern that we were solving here.
Okay. And so if someone were really concerned about privacy and they're like, I'm not going to connect any of my social media, I just have my name on there. Do people do that? Do they do like just
Yeah.
game or whatever? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, some people just do names and then also they don't set it to always. So maybe it's the last place they were at and they just leave it at that if they're really concerned with it.
Okay. Well, and if you ask people my age about an app like this, 100% of people would raise the privacy concern, right? The
Yeah.
Gen Z, I don't think cares very much. Like there are other apps that are tracking out the same ways.
Yeah.
iPhone, essentially, right? So good.
Yeah.
So, both when you were starting out and then Connor now with the debugging, what tools do you use to actually do the programming?
That's a great question. So Jake started out, he used some ChatGPT, just like you're stuck on something, you need to figure it out, and it offers really good insight and some good code. We've since moved on a little bit. I've been using Claude Code. I started using it for another project and learned how to prompt engineer in a way that works effectively. So I've been working with that for the last month and a half, and that's been really good. Particularly, I hadn't coded in Swift before. I was good with C++ and Python, but Swift was new to me. So Claude is really good at translating my ideas into code that's usable in this context.
Okay. And we're recording this in early January 2026. And just this past week, people have been reacting to Claude all over because apparently there's some new update and it got way better, right? What can it do for you now?
With this new update, I'm actually yet to try it out, but I'm very excited to. It's code compile is not the right word, especially in this context, but it breaks down your code. It simplifies it, which makes it more understandable for end users like us or end users of the tool. But it also makes it way more token efficient for the AI coding. So simplifying your code makes it much better, much faster, and it should optimize it for our server costs as well. So I'm excited about that.
Cool. Yeah, we've learned here with apps we create that optimizing for server costs is a big deal. You gotta plan ahead for that. So some people will say if you use no code tools, which we do extensively, that you're going to create code that's going to have to be rewritten later. But it sounds like that's not a big deal, right? Like Jake made version 1 and now you decided to change directions, you recode it. Did that cause any major problems for you?
Not particularly. I mean, it's run very smooth. We do encounter bugs, but they're frankly fewer than if we coded everything by hand. As we approach new forms of funding, different grants and maybe investors, something on our priority list is maybe working with a cybersecurity expert to make sure everything is locked down super tight. We do feel good about it, but that would be a wise use of funds, something we're looking into.
Okay. And it does sound like people aren't really, other than the fact that they're in a 50-yard radius, they're not really sharing any information they're not already sharing online, right? So I'm not saying disregard the issues. I'm just saying it seems a little bit lower risk than some other apps might be. How long, if you were starting now, knowing what you know, and you went from Jake's initial idea, well, I should ask you, how long did it actually take to go from that idea to an app that people were using? And then how long do you think you could do it now that you've done it?
Yeah. That's a great question. So senior year of high school, I had the idea and I tried to pursue it the best I could, but I didn't know a ton about programming. I knew a little and I was learning. But then I went on a mission. I came back and I wanted to do it and I was in college and I kept putting it off that first semester, just trying to find someone to actually program it for me because I was like, I don't have the skills to do this. And finally I said, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just solve one problem after the other and let's figure it out. And so I would solve one problem, then the next, and then the next, and then eventually it came out to having a whole app out there. And it took me about 5 months to do. And then I started about trying to think the months now, about March or February, and then released it late August. So yeah, 5 months. And that was a really cool experience, just getting it done and then out that quick. If I was to redo it now, I've been working on some little side projects of mine, different apps, but certain things that took me like a month to do now take me a day. So it's really cool how much programming I've learned in the last year, but also the amount of AI I've been able to utilize and learn as well.
Yeah, and last March was when, in my mind at least, those tools suddenly got really good.
Yeah.
So it would be way faster now. Well, that's good. And then, the hardest part of your business, and this is a question for both of you, is like any social media business, because it is a social media platform. It's just you have to kind of get to critical mass of users. And in my mind, if you're on a campus with hundreds of users, you've kind of done it, at least on this campus. How hard was that to do? How did you get the first 10 people to use it, for example?
Yeah. That's a great question as well. You know, that's been one of our biggest struggles is trying to get not only users on the app, but people using it, obviously, and
Oh, yeah.
integrating it well. Um, but the main thing that we saw, we've tried different avenues of marketing. You know, we've tried social media, we've tried knocking doors, even, you know, leaving flyers. What we saw most effective though is two things. One of which is throwing parties, getting parties and people there and seeing the app utilized in a party setting. And then the other of which is having tight knit groups. So a ward or maybe just one apartment complex all in the app and seeing how they connect there. So as we've gotten people who are actually in the same proximity, ironic enough, then we see more success.
Well, I was just looking. So I'm going to my professional conference in a few weeks here, and I was just looking. Usually there will be an app that kind of shows you who's attending the conference. This could, you must have thought of some other use cases. Like you could use this for like any conference, any meeting, especially ones where you don't have people registering, where people just show up. If you can show up and then see who's there, that's super useful. Have you thought
Yeah.
going other directions, or are you just going to hit this one hard and then maybe?
Yeah. That's a great question. We've mostly been focusing on that party aspect, but we have talked to some people at BYU and we've wanted to get it into like networking places because we feel like it could be huge there. Just people meeting people with similar majors, similar ideas at those networking things or anything you're at. So we've been working on that as well, but been waiting for BYU for a response on that and kind of been on the back burner.
Yeah. Can I jump in?
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, anticipating that desire for networking in like a more professional context and not just like meeting friends or meeting people you want to go out with. In addition to Instagram and Facebook that are linked on your profile on Proximity, we added a LinkedIn button. So you can put that on there, meet professional connections as well as social ones.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, you could totally, and you could see an event like here on campus. There's a really good business conference here a couple months ago that if that were just up on the overhead project, like up on the screen, people would probably jump on there and download it and do it. So, but that's great. I'm sure you've thought of a lot of uses. Yeah, in terms of monetization, you talked about kind of the freemium model, and I'm not asking you for specific numbers, but is that right now, is that enough to kind of pay the bills? Does it seem like that's a coherent way to fund it, or what are you thinking?
We have one, maybe two premium purchases to date. So
As a percentage, that's probably normal. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, in short, it doesn't pay the bills. Our expenses are fairly low as a software company, but we're still pre-revenue for sure.
Yeah.
For monetization, as we mentioned, freemium and also ads. I think we have a unique platform for ads because it's a very catered audience. People in a specific location, you can target for location. And advertising for events, I think, will be particularly effective because most people on Proximity are social. Those people who like to go out, look for events.
Yeah. And you can see yourself being in a place like some venue, like if you were at like a convention, like at Comic-Con or something like that, you could have different exhibitors advertising directly to you in the app while you're looking at people. Anyway,
Yeah.
all kinds of things. That's great. What other monetization options are there? Well, okay, so those two are big. I guess right now the focus is spreading to other campuses. What made you decide to go to BYU Idaho? How did you get there?
Yeah. So we were mostly reaching out to BYU, Provo. We were mainly trying to nail this place, and we still have a lot of work to do here. I mean, out of a 30,000 person campus, we've only got a couple hundred on the app, so we've been still trying to grow it here in Provo. But the biggest thing was we were reaching out to different avenues, and BYU iScroll heard about the idea, and they reached out to us, and we were able to get our article in their newspaper. And then once that happened, we were getting texts like crazy from different BYUI people saying, "Is this real? Is this actually coming on to our campus?" So we got a lot more of a good response from BYUI, and that made us realize maybe we really need to buckle down and try and get this here in BYUI because they really want this app.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Sorry, were you saying something, Connor?
Yeah, if I could. We ran a flyer campaign at BYUI. We sent one of my buddies up there with a couple thousand flyers, and we realized that doesn't work. Like when someone's trying to join and there's no one around, it's very hard to get them to stay on the app or continue using. So like Jake said, we're working on events for spreading where people all get it together and spread naturally. that way. I think BYUI is a really unique market, especially in these winter months that they're in right now, because it is such a closed off, cold kind of place. So I think connecting more digitally in a way that inspires this personal connection, I think that'll be huge for them.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. And then the model does seem a little bit like the social network, right? It's a little bit Facebook. You start on one campus, get critical mass, then start to the other campuses. And so what if someone sees this and they're like, well, I'm at Duke and I want to use it. Like what would someone have to do to persuade you to go to another campus?
If they asked, we do it. We're very excited about spreading, especially to those more social schools with maybe sororities and fraternities, where there's a stronger party culture.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same exact thing. We would definitely go there right away. I mean, the whole goal of this app, I mean, it'd be great to break even eventually and make some money off it. But the main goal of the app is really connection, in a society, especially after COVID, where connection has been kind of hard to find. We want to make a way that it's easier and make it so people can connect and make friends easier.
Ooh, good angle. I love that because there's so much coverage now about technology making people more isolated and not connecting to each other. And the reason is because Facebook or Instagram or whatever people like is you're all just doing it on the device. But here it's forcing the in-person interaction. So seems pretty positive. Like I was having a conversation online with someone about that yesterday, I think. So pretty great. So in the process so far, what's a mistake you've made that you look back and you're like, we should have done that differently, or you learned from it?
Yeah.
I've got one. This is kind of shows my cards as more the coder guy, but
Yep.
we were storing way too much data on our server, not in a personal data sense, but there were things that could have been stored locally on the person's device that we were hosting at our expense for no reason, like their own profile picture. We'd load that from our server onto their phone every single time. So changing that so it's stored locally saved us countable dollars. I think optimizations like that, knowing from the beginning, would have been nice.
Yeah, I think for me, just during the programming process of actually making the app, I remember halfway through, it was late at night. I was on a huge code tear, just trying to get a lot of it done, and I pressed a button to delete a certain file, and I deleted the whole app. And I was like, "There's no way I just did that." I tried to restore it and everything, and I was like, and that was probably 2 months into the process, and I'm like, "Crap, what am I gonna do now?" And so I started up again, and looking at those mistakes now, though, um, they're really for the best, I feel like, because I was able to take in a new direction, make the UI a little bit better to
Yep.
look at, and it came out to be a huge benefit, actually, being able to do it again. It was a lot faster because I knew what I was doing now, but it looked a lot better as well, which was awesome.
Okay, and technically, are you is this iPhone only, or are you on Android too, or can it be web based? How do people get to it?
Currently, it's for iPhone only. They just have that support structure, the App Store. You have to pay, but it's very clean and easy. We also noticed that most of the users were trying to reach our iPhone users, particularly here at BYU. So that's our main market. It's also quite a bit of work to translate everything to Android. Definitely in the table down the road, but not anytime that soon.
Is it solely an app though, or can people do it web based also?
It's purely an app.
I guess that makes sense. You'd never be doing it on your PC or something. So okay, well, good. And then so like lots of people who kind of watch our content or connect with me on LinkedIn are BYU students who want to create startups. So can you talk about things like we mentioned token use? Like how much does it cost to create something if you don't have a lot of experience, create an app from the start? And what are some things you'd recommend to students?
Yeah, I can take this. Starting with ChatGPT, even the free version was very helpful. But once your code base is a little bigger, a little more complicated, that quickly phases out. Claude Code, their tokens can run up. For building an app like this, you could estimate a couple $100 probably.
Yeah.
A resource we might recommend, there are validation grants I'm sure you're aware of through the Rollins Center. And those provide some funds to help build a minimum viable product. So accessing some of those funds, you can put them towards Claude tokens or any AI tokens you'd need. And that's a very, very good way to find funding to create something like this.
And for me, I would just say, just get started. I mean, I think that was my biggest problem. I was scared of what it looked like price wise, if I could actually do it. And then once I actually started it, one piece came together after the other. And one of the coolest things about it is what I saw is even with the failures that I've seen so far trying to expand it, we've seen a ton of successes, but there's also been failures, of course. The people I've met in the process have been amazing. And so connections that I would have never had if I never started not only proximity, but a business is amazing. And now if I was ever to start another business down the road or do something else, I have so many connections to go to now that would be great for future projects. So that's been super cool. I would just say get started.
As is, that's an underappreciated reason to launch a startup while you're in college, just because you meet people who then, when you try the next attempt, you know. But this one from where I'm sitting is going really well. You mentioned Rollins Center. So correct me if I'm wrong, but the Rollins Center, they do a validation grant that's a couple $100s to try to figure out if there's something there, you know, if people want this. And then after that, you can get a traction grant, which I forget the amount, but it's maybe $1,500, a couple thousand or something like that. And so did you go through that whole process, or have you learned about this after the fact?
We're in the middle of that process right now. They've completed a validation grant, and then, like you said, there's different levels of the traction grant. So the first one is $2,000. I believe they go up to 20,000 as their max.
Okay.
So we're applying for the 2,000 in this next application cycle, hoping to get some funding for our future endeavors, mostly marketing, but some development as well.
Have you discovered any marketing that's really scalable? Like it could be Instagram ads or just whatever, something where it's a machine where if you had enough marketing funds, you know, you would grow the base.
Yeah, I think Instagram, the big one that we've seen.
Yeah.
With the little funding we've already had, we've seen big growth once we market through Instagram. Just any social media, really, as well as just organic marketing like parties and different things like that. We've seen the growth.
Okay, cool. And another thing you said that was super interesting, I think Connor said that it costs a couple $100s in tokens to make an app like this. And it's like, historically, if you can create software for a couple $100, that's awesome. You know, the Lean Startup book came out in 2011, and the idea was you need to do all this validation before you create anything because creation is so expensive. But it's just not expensive. That's just over, at least for software, right?
True. Yeah.
So one other thing you've talked on, and sorry, you said a lot of interesting things, so I'll hop around a bit, but you talk about the challenge of making people use the app repeatedly. Like they'll be a user, but how do you make them go back to it day after day? What have you found with your users so far?
I take this one. Or I can take some.
Yeah, I'll take this one. I think what we've seen is people, obviously, I mean, there's a correlation where if people are on the app in the same area as you, there's going to be more people that use it. If there isn't, they're not going to use it. And so that's been just the biggest thing we've been doing. You know, we saw, like, for example, a lot of people in our apartment complex, they were using it because we had marketed a lot there, told people about it there, and they had been using it because we were all in the same spot and they saw everyone on the app, compared to somebody in Orem where they're one of only a few people to be using it. So the more dense areas with the app, it works incredibly. Like big social events as well. If you're at a party or in the library, we've seen a lot of success there.
Yeah, we implemented a feature where when there's someone that wasn't near you and is now near you, you'll get a push notification, and those can be specified if the user desires. But that's been helpful to get people on the app because they don't have to check. It's kind of presented to them that there's people nearby. I think at the end of the day, though, it just needs to be integrated into their daily routine. Like if they're bored, they pop it open, they see who's home, they see who's playing basketball, who's at the library, making it a tool for daily use.
Okay. Yeah, and I use Android, so so I don't know how all the iPhone things work, but if I'm like, say I went to a Jazz game and I have my iPhone and your app's on it, do I have to have opened the app, or will it just in the background send me notifications if someone I know is there?
Yeah. So that's kind of, it show the other person that you are there if you have that setting enabled. Which
Okay. That's cool, because that's a pretty appealing feature to me. Like if I'm going to some big event, I don't expect to know people there, but probably in the crowd there are some people I know. So if it just pulls those out for me, that's cool. I'll go say hi to them, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Well, pretty fun. So we're almost out of time, but what are future features? What would you like to build that you haven't yet?
We would love to flesh out our events tab a little deeper, particularly for sponsored events. That'll be a method of monetization, having event hosters pay us to promote their things. So that's a backend functionality that we still need to implement. We also want to improve our premium feature. Right now, it's pretty bare bones. We would love to have a history offered there. Like you can see people you come into contact with in the last 12 or 24 hours. Have that be an incentive for premium. But base functionality is basically as it will be. We're always adaptable, but for now we're pretty happy with it.
Yeah, no, you're having a history of your interactions with a person is pretty cool. That'd be interesting for on the business side. If you ever went more of a LinkedIn route too, that would be kind of interesting. But okay, well, we need to wrap up. But if people see this, like if someone on LinkedIn is watching and they think maybe they're an investor or an entrepreneur or something, and they see and they kind of see the potential, what's the best thing people could do to help you at this point?
Yeah, I think a big thing is funding, as we talked about before. We definitely want to reach out to different sororities and fraternities and try and get that connection there. And obviously, we'll need some funding to do that. So funding is a big one, as well as, I mean, Connor, he's, how are you, 22 or 21?
I'm 22.
I'm 22 as well, and so we're both young. Starting this, we're adding another member to the team pretty soon here. He's also very young, so I think the best thing that we could use is experience and also business experience, because we know a lot about programming and AI. That's kind of our generation's thing, and we're learning about it. But what we don't know a ton about is the business side, and so we've been learning that as we go. And so that's kind of what we're looking for from future investors or people who want to get in on this project.
Okay. Well, good. And I mean, the big advantage, you have really is knowing Gen Z, like being there and understanding exactly what people want and creating an app that an older person probably wouldn't create, But, okay. So business people can help you out that way. Anyone else, find Proximity on the App Store. Just search for Proximity, right?
Yeah, if Proximity Live is going to be the best keyword to find it, but Proximity should work as well. Yes.
Okay, great. Well, we love seeing BYU students do awesome entrepreneurial things. Good luck with BYU Idaho. It's cool, guys. Thanks for being on.
And thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.